What's up, guys? Today I'm basically going to do a trading recap on March 21st, Friday, and just basically just my overview, my game plan, and what I was seeing in the market today. So starting with pre-market, of course. What's your game plan? Initially, before I slept, I noticed how during Asian session the market has been trending downwards. So I was gonna look for something that would be more bearish potential, selling, shorting. Because initially, throughout this whole week, I had this uh, day inverse fair value gap made from here to here. So I had a feeling there would be a lot of confluence or area of conflict in this area, especially since it hasn't been, market has been trending up a lot and maybe mainly just consolidating around that area. So as pre-market starts happening, I was planning on trading during opening session, but I ended up slipping past my alarm and waking up at 6:50, so I started trading around 7, so around here, right? But before I traded, I looked at any other areas of confluence or places where the market wants to head. So looking at the higher time frames, I noticed in the 1 hour, there was also, apologies, a fair value gap. Yeah, still a fair value gap, not inverse yet, from here to here. Boom. So I had a feeling that might be an area of where the market wants to move. Specifically, this would be inverse. And so these were my two zones. I was looking for where the market wants to move. So before I placed a trade, I looked at the market. I noticed how there's sell side liquidity right here. Buy side liquidity right here. And I noticed how the market is starting to reverse potentially, as you can see when there was a lower low, higher low. So I was looking for a short, hopefully bring it back to sell side liquidity. So I set up a forever model, change of state, manipulation. I think hopefully you guys can see it also, inverse fair value gap. So I was expecting that the market would go back to sell side liquidity, rebalance from there, and maybe head back up afterwards. Standard deviation to see where market wants to go or where I want to put my take profit. So after it passed the change in state of delivery, I placed a short, hoping it would continue going down, right? But actually it ended up retesting the inverse fair value gap, which made me kind of panic because I had just my stop loss at the previous high or slightly above it, so at 50, and I was just aiming for a 1.5R, so around 75. I think I was panicking because how close the wick got to my stop loss, but ended up it started reversing backwards and started heading down. I started seeing strong bearish momentum at 708 and continuing for a bit, so I was hoping it would continue, but it looks like the market that I'm currently trading in, or this today, is more of a bullish market, pushing upwards more. So if we look in a bigger perspective, we can see how, even though it's showing a head and shoulders or higher highs or lower lows and stuff like that, it's reversing, right? We can see how, if you look at it like a bigger time frame, it's more of just like creating a higher high and higher low. So we can see from here, it's just going up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So it's actually going upwards. But because I was so zoomed in on the 1 minute time frame, I think I thought I was going to go down more. So market ended up going down. I showed my stop loss to the bottom, the inverse fair value gap, and market ends up hitting it at 714, resulting in a negative 675 loss. So, point negative 675R. And I was like, this market's ranging. I really don't like trading this market, but I'll see if any opportunity comes, just observe the market, see if anything else comes, and potentially I might be able to get like a piece of the market, which ends up happening. As we can see, there was a lot of creation of inverse fair value gaps and fair value gaps throughout the whole market. We can also see here, creation of one right here. So it's like, there's a lot of area of conflict in this section, especially since this is the day inverse fair value gap. So I had hopes that there would be strong movement in the market or volatility maybe later in the day, but maybe not now. So as I start watching the market, I can see how the market's actually starting trailing upward. So I should start aiming for buys, which I end up doing on here. I end up setting up a change of state right here and doing a different setup instead of the forever model, which is called the fair value gap, and basically where it would retest a fair value gap or inverse fair value gap like right here, and trail back upwards. So we can see here it retests this inverse fair value gap. That was an area of conflict for me based off my first trade, and ends up rebounding up or strong momentum upwards. So I end up placing a long early round right here, aiming for a 40 point and a 2.5R, which my reasoning for setting such a tight stop is because while I was moving my take profit and stop, there was strong bullish momentum in that candle. So I was like, okay, my stop loss could probably start being tighter. Initially, I was playing slightly below here, but with that quick move of a candle, I was like, okay, I'll just have a tighter stop loss, trail it up to break even, and hopefully it takes profit. Eventually it does, and I closed the day $100 positive, which is not a lot. You can see my first trade right here. Forever model down 675. You can see right here. Inverse fair value gap. Bought after change of state, retest, and aiming for a TP here, but it rebounds after hitting sell side liquidity right here and rebounds to buy side liquidity. After that, we have my second trade, which is right here. Market moves, shows down, hits inverse fair value gap. That was an area of conflict for me for my first trade. Starts rebounding up, changes state of delivery, passes that, place a buy order, and ends up hitting my take profit at negative 1 standing deviation at $800 or 40 points. So those were my two trades. I also planned on taking other trades, especially this one that I noticed. I think I had an idea of a change in state right here, right? With an inverse fair value gap right here. So this is basically a better was it forever model for me, FM model. Manipulation right here. So I was like, you technically could take this. And my idea for this trade, maybe someone else took it around the world, I don't know, was basically just have your stop slightly below the inverse fair value gap at 25 points, which I end up like placing and just targeting like 800. So maybe around 1.5R, which is not that bad. And it ends up hitting. You can also see I had the position right here. Yeah, right there. But yeah, so that's basically my recap for Friday, March 21st, and my road to becoming funded, day 2. So yeah, thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any questions about the way I trade. Any comments? I'll try to answer all of them. But yeah, thank you for watching.